Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.
The last time we gathered together was for Memphis Wrestling as we talk it to you was on Tuesday, December the 17th. Took off for Christmas Eve, New Year Eve, but guess what, everybody? We're back in the saddle again, so says Al Tuttle, and we are here for a big show. I am Randy Hales, and I'm tickled to death. A couple of them couldn't be here as Pat Trammell's basketballing, and Chris Ellis is too in a way, but in a different sort of way. But we have the Alabama Broadcasting Hall of Famer. We have the Memphis Wrestling 2024 Class Hall of Famer, Michael St. John, in the house. Bring him in pretty quick. But first, I want to say today, deep dive into 85. We have a big announcement. We said yesterday about the Spellbinder's new action figure. We will also review the debut edition and the 1650 edition of Monday Night Raw last night. But let's bring in Hall of Famer Michael St. John for the first time in 2025 with his smiles, with his cat, and his first take.
I got to feed the cat. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it. Missed you, man. Good seeing you. How things been going?
Well, I about fell and killed myself on Christmas Eve getting out of the shower. I call it old man stuff. I say the other word, S-H-I-T, but Al doesn't like it when I cuss. I didn't think I was going to get up. Phone wasn't close to me. Couldn't move. Was in a lot of pain. Thought I broke something. Finally, I was naked as a jaybird, and so I wouldn't have wanted anybody in my family to come in to see that anyway. I wouldn't want the ambulance people to come in and see that. Finally, I got a towel. Finally, I dried off, and finally, I picked my ass up and got to the couch, and still a little bit of pain, but it's basically gone away. So I survived. No broken bones there, Michael.
Thank goodness. And that was getting out of the shower?
Yes.
Well, God forbid you go walking around on the ice that's coming your way this weekend. That's for sure. Stay inside.
Well, I'm planning on it. Hey, how's your weather? I'm assuming you're not getting ice or snow.
Well, we're expecting some flurries on Thursday night, and then Friday, Saturday, there's a little bit of a chance, but more of ice is the worry here. And then, of course, here in Alabama, nobody can drive in the rain, much less ice and snow. So we're just going to have to wait it out and see. But there's a threat, and everybody's taking precaution. Walmart was officially out of milk and toilet paper today, so they may get another shipment. But who knows? Who knows? But good to be with you. Too bad the rest of the crew is not with us because I got a chance to see Pat over the holiday. We went to a football game together and nearly drowned like rats leaving the football game. But had a great time, and of course, it's always great to see you, and hopefully we'll see Coach real soon as well.
How was your Christmas and your New Year? Did you get drunk?
No. Are you kidding me? All Joshua Christmas. That was an all Joshua Christmas. And my wife went to bed New Year's Eve at 10:30, and Joshua stayed up with me till midnight. So I brought the New Year came into this household with yours truly, Joshua, and the cats. And that was it. But I wished him a happy New Year, and he crawled into bed between Melanie and I and went to sleep. And that was about as New Year's partying as we got. But we've got a lot happening here in Alabama. And of course, one of the things that's happening, I really was hoping Pat would be here because I don't know if you know this, Randy, but one of Pat's neighbors was named Miss America over the weekend. And I mean, literally right down the street from him. So, in fact, for my first take, if you don't mind, I'd like to sort of salute Miss America. I mean, we used to always have the show to watch. Now, I don't know where it is, but it ended up on the internet. So if it's okay with you, let's salute Miss America.
All right. Do you know the name? Am I supposed to be hearing something? I'm not.
You're not hearing anything?
Absolutely not a
Okay.
thing. I
Sorry
heard a
about
little music there.
that. I don't know why it's not playing. Can't hear that.
I can't. Can you guys hear music or talking or something? I can hear you.
Can't hear it. Wow. Okay. Well, I guess I'll turn it off then if nobody can hear it because I had played the Abby Stockard is Miss America from Vestavia Hills, Alabama. She was an Auburn cheerleader. She's a graduate, a very bright woman, but also a very, very pretty woman. First time in 20 years, we've had a Miss Alabama become Miss America. So it's not as big of a deal. The Wokers got a hold of Miss America badge and sort of ruined it for everybody. But other than that, it's always fun. You know, the most beautiful women in the world, in my opinion, and I haven't traveled the whole world, but a lot in the United States, are in the South. Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Arkansas, and then parts of Louisiana and Tennessee and Florida. But those three states I named on the front end, on the first four, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Arkansas, have probably the most beautiful women in America. That's why they always put all of these beautiful badges.
Well, that's pretty cool. I'm excited about the wrestling part of this show as we're going to deep dive and great video into the year 1985. First thing, and I said this on my show last night, Michael, that it just thrills my heart anytime somebody affiliated with Memphis Wrestling does great. And we have great news too, because we kind of brought him back to life as a feature of Talking Memphis Wrestling back during the summer and into the fall, and also by inducting him into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Well, throw it up there, Adam, because our friend Harry Del Rios, the Spellbinder, is now, and I'm excited about this, Spellbinder now has his own action figure. Believe it or not, the Spellbinder, our good friend, has his own action figure. And folks, you gotta check that out at rushfigures.com. Rushfigures.com for the pre-order. Check that out. Or the QR code that Adam Dunn, our producer, has put on the screen. You can scan that and get that. So, Michael, I think that's an awful big deal that Spell has his own action figure. We kind of lit a fire in his ass, Michael, when we inducted him into the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame. I had the honor of making that induction because he's just a real nice guy, now a family guy, and now to have what I consider a RH guy have his own action figure. Certainly, there's more Randy Yales guys that do as well, but it's a thrill.
Oh, it's special. It's long overdue. I mean, the guy made quite a name for himself in Memphis and in other territories as well. A great body build. And I had the opportunity at the event, Randy, to go around and interview just about everybody that was there for the event and from the wrestling world. And he was one of the most nice, forthcoming interviews that we had. And at the end, he gave Joshua one of his masks. He handed it and he said, "Here," and Joshua put it on. In fact, he still got it. It's in the media room in the next room over. But couldn't happen to a nicer guy. And I hope a lot of our Memphis wrestling fans, and I hope it gets all over the internet, all over the internet world, that this action figure's out there. You know, Jimmy Cornette has a lot of action figures of his folks, but to see one of our own get his own action figure, that's doggone special.
It absolutely is, no doubt about it. I texted you a question a couple of times today, and maybe
phone's been dead. Let me check. My phone's been dead.
I asked the question. I don't even know because obviously you're in the technology business, but I don't know if you have Netflix. The question that I was asking you, Michael, was did you get a chance to watch episode 1650, the debut on Netflix? This is a game changer, my friend. If you don't think it is, Folks, you don't know about what technology is becoming, and you don't know how global wrestling is going to be. Do you get Netflix, Michael, and did you watch this show?
My wife has a subscription. She loves to watch, what is it, Yellowstone, and then there's another
I love Yellowstone.
that and another show about the West and horses that she watches. I can't remember the name of it, but we have it. I did not watch it last night. I was involved in some broadcast here for some of our basketball coverage here on Fun Radio, and basically that took up most of the night. And by the time I got back to where I could watch it, it was like the last 30 minutes of the show. But you're absolutely right about it being a game changer. And I think if you don't keep up with technology and what's happening in the world game wise, and it's happening faster and faster and faster. And now see the CES in Las Vegas this week, and the Bomber in New Orleans had scouted out the site on Bourbon Street with Meta glasses, the one that's got the little camera. I mean, technology is going crazy, and you got to keep up with it. But what happens now is you're taking the number one cable TV and satellite TV show in the whole world, which is Monday Night Raw. They've had that distinction for a long time, and putting it on a streaming service that you have to pay for. Now, not that you didn't have to pay for your satellite, not that you didn't have to pay for your cable, but the streaming services are a little different because you can't buy one and get everything you want. You got to get some of your stuff on Netflix. You got to get some of your stuff on Peacock. You got to get some of it on Prime. You got to get some of it on Apple TV. And by the time you paid all these monthly fees, you're paying more than your cable bill, from my determination and where I'm at in the world of entertainment watching it. But it is a game changer, and I'm anxious to see the ratings and the viewers that they had going to Netflix, like you just said, internationally versus the global scope, or the almost global scope of the USA Network.
Well, no, as far as for sure Netflix, that's the selling point of it. It is global, and obviously Raw was in many different countries, but to say is global is certainly not the fact. And the talking heads, the Sirius Radio, Busted Open Radio, everybody was saying, and all the thoughts I've seen, the most watched wrestling show in the 1,650 editions of Raw happened last night in Los Angeles, California, because there was 17,000 people in that venue that houses the LA Clippers. It looked great, and I wish you to watch it. I'll just run down a couple of things if I can. So when I look at this paper, Adam, if you would put that graphic up there, and we will talk about the January the 6th, 2025. And Adam, I'll tell you when to come back, because I want to bounce back to Adam as we talk about different things. The opening VO was absolutely gave me chills and goosebumps. It was voiced in part by Triple H. Did a fantastic job with great enthusiasm, and the video was just super. It started with, I wish I had the script that he read from. It started with going back to the beginning in wrestling and the carnivals, and then they looked at wrestling after the carnivals and the small clubs, and then they said it's changed with television, and they started showing different clips and pictures of different people, including Bruno Sammartino, and then threw a clip in with Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and so many other people, as you see Triple H doing that there. And so it was just a great heartfelt thing. But one thing they did, and this is where I want to pop in Michael, and one of my things I've said a million times, Michael, that, I get kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired of when they talk about Memphis wrestling, Michael. They immediately, a lot of people do talk about Andy Kaufman and Jerry Lawler. They just do. And with all the classic stuff from Fargo to Sputnik to Billy Wicks to Tojo and Jarrett to Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee, all the stuff. But no doubt it got eyeballs on it, and I got to clear up my video. So just before I throw this at you, Michael, and talk about this, I got to clear up my shot. Here's the thing that was impressive. They did that video, the history of wrestling, that sort of thing, and it was great. The one Memphis shot they did was Jerry Lawler slapping Andy Kaufman on, was it the Letterman show? Yeah, it was on the Letterman show. So your thoughts about that, Michael?
Well, and I can understand that in the days of the territory and when the Kaufman angle was shot and happened, it was still wrestling was still territorial and becoming a more national thing with the superstations. And it made world news. It made CNN. It made the New York Times. It made major news outlets, NBC, that never had really given any light, had really looked at wrestling in a shady sort of way. And it almost gave it a legitimacy while everything else was turning around and wrestling was becoming more mainstream at the time. It was a focal point. So as far as seeing them show that for Memphis wrestling, I can see why, because of the notoriety and the attention it got and has continued to get ever since it happened. And of course, the Man in the Moon movie and all of that stuff came, all after that. Obviously, there were some, in my opinion, in your opinion, I would think in all our Memphis wrestling fans' opinions, there was probably a lot more Memphis events that were bigger, greater, and more timelined than this was. But again, this was one of the things that just put it on the map. And, and Letterman had a lot to do with it because A, he was a wrestling fan, and B, he played along.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So it was a big fight field. The production was different and they went all out. A few things I want to tell you, it was lit good and it just looked tremendous. The referees, I've always said the WWE, they can't hold a seat back to the NFL. They can't. They're top of the line. And the referee had a camera on him. When have you ever seen that?
That's cool. That's actually cool. So a referee in the ring with a mini cam on him. That's super.
Yeah, it was just tremendous and so much through and the building was packed again. I think it was called the Truett Dome or something like that.
The SoFi Center is the stadium where the Rams play, and next door, that's built at the old Hollywood Park area of Los Angeles in Inglewood. Which if you're flying into LA from Memphis, the normal landing pattern, you come right over the top of, back in the day, Hollywood Park, now right over the top of SoFi Stadium. This arena just opened over Christmas and was home to the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers have always been the stepchild in basketball in Los Angeles. They moved from San Diego because they couldn't make it. They couldn't. They were failing miserably. They moved them to L.A. They played in the old L.A. arena on the campus of Southern California University. Then they played. In fact, I think for the last 15, 20 years, have played downtown at the big arena downtown that holds the Clippers. It was built for the Clippers. And now they've got their very own place, their very own identity. And what a great spot and of course, the facilities, you talk about the lighting and the seating and the amenities in this. I have obviously not been to this arena, but I hear this is the absolute best arena in all of the NBA. So for the WWE to kick off their Netflix show in this arena, I think it's very telltale.
Hey, because I have the best producer in the world because
I like that shot, by the way.
This is the ref cam for sure. It is a hell of a shot right there. And don't have to say any more on that. But the interesting thing that Adam did point out, I didn't notice last night, again, since TKO took over, and this is why it's a game changer. There is so many different ways, and this is one of them, Michael. They're in business for profits for the stockholders, the whole thing. And I know as a fan, you don't want to hear about that. You don't want to hear about a corporate entity making billions of dollars. But let's face it, that's what it is. And I was in the wrestling business at a much lower level, and it was about the money. Now, it was good when I was making $1,000 a week, and I wasn't dealing with billions of dollars, but still, it was about that $1,000 a week. If it was good, if it was bad, it was about starving to death. But that, Cameron, what do you think about that idea of the many outlets they have to sponsor and the different things they can do to create revenue, Michael?
Well, the guy that owns the guy that owns TKO just got appointed to is it Facebook or Meta's board of directors, and of course he's going to play a part in the new administration that takes over in a couple of weeks, and he's almost a throwback, and I hate to say it and compare it to the Ringling Brothers, or even to the early days, the carnival days of wrestling, but he's a real throwback to not only providing great entertainment, but also taking advantage of every opportunity to brand it. In fact, on that ring shot you just had there, if you could take your eye off the eye, there was a Wingstop emblem or logo on the mat, just over the head. If you look over her hand on the upper side, that's Wingstop, which is a national chain of chicken wing places. And and right there's a perfect example. I'm sure if we swung around the ring apron is sponsored. I'm sure that the ribbon, the light board ribbon, probably has tons of sponsorship. So the guy goes all out, and hey, give it to his crew of whoever's marketing. They have taken marketing in the WWE, in my humble opinion, up to the next level.
Wheatley Vodka sponsored this event. Again, folks, I'm spending a lot more time today. We'll get into 1985. This is a Memphis wrestling theme, but we're not living in a cave. The modern wrestling product, whether you like it, and a lot of people that love the traditional wrestling don't, I think we got to cover it at times, Michael, because you can't, no matter if we think it's too many spots or this or that, or we're caught up in the past and our memories and our childhood, and I can say that about football style, basketball style, anything. You can't ignore the fact that the wrestling business is changing, and the money making now is, because of the technology and other stuff, is just mind-blowing. I'll talk about several different things. I'll get out of order because an interesting point here. The person that helped build the WWF from a wrestler standpoint was the immortal Hulk Hogan and Adam from the show last night, surrounded by his manager Jimmy Hart. And here's another thing. Hulk Hogan has started a new beer. It's called the Real American Beer. And now TKO, Michael, this is a scoop. TKO has gone in sponsorship and partners. They own part of the Real American Beer. And so I heard Conrad Thompson, your guy in the Huntsville area, I heard him say that he sent Eric Bischoff a text and said he'll make more money off this deal than he's ever made in his life, and you know how much money he's made. So having that sponsorship is good. Here's the thing. Then I'll throw it to you on this thing. Watching it last night, it's all over the internet. First of all, Hogan was absolutely booed out of the building. Disrespectful, completely 100%. I thought John Cena got a hell of a pop. I think that The Undertaker got a hell of a pop. They did interesting stuff. Hogan was booed out of the business. the building. Now, people on social media were saying it was because of politics, because he endorsed Trump. Well, we know that in California it's more liberal, it's more of a Democratic state, and they said that is the reason that they booed him out of the building. But if that's the case, so did the Undertaker. He endorsed Donald Donald Trump. He didn't get booed. Cena did too. He didn't get booed. Other people thinks it's different allegations in the past on Hogan. Some racist and some are, there's been a couple of racist things and lawsuit things and different thing. And wrestling press sometimes Dave Meltzer never really liked Hogan, and there's more smart wrestling fans and more people watching, not just in wrestling but in life. They get their opinions from what Dave Meltzer says, or Wade Keller says, or this person or that person. I think because of the fact that on Busted Open they have Mark Henry and Bully Ray and Nick Nemeth and different people, that's more accurate, but they have agendas too. But what do you think? I'm rambling with this question. You need to give me a broadcasting class to be more clear in my question. The question is, what the hell do you think of Hogan being booed out of the building? What's your thoughts?
Number one, I'm not surprised. And the reason I'm not surprised is that Hogan has had a checkered past since his heyday in wrestling. And even when he was healing up in NWO and all that stuff, a lot came out about his exploits with Bubba the Love Sponge's wife and that lawsuit. And then, there's been a lot of bumpy roads for Hogan. And then they're always making fun of his souvenir shop or whatever it is down in Clearwater, Florida, and that he's charges $85 or something to take a picture with his championship belt and all this good stuff. And I think and to defend Hogan, because he is the man that turned wrestling into an international event, and it's something that he made wrestling mainstream. Maybe not all on his own, but through his efforts and through him as the lead charge, he made wrestling mainstream. But I think you're absolutely right, Randy, in saying that wrestling fans since the 70s or the early 80s to today have become smart into the business. And they also realize that, and with all these books that are coming out about those days when Hogan was on top and this, that, and the other, they realize that he wielded a lot of power inside the company that kept other wrestlers from maintaining a level of prominence. And he kept himself on top. Now, I'll be honest with you. If I was the number one radio guy, you can't even say it about Howard Stern anymore because he's not the number one radio guy. But if I was the number one radio guy in the world, I would bust my ass to stay on top. But the thing I wouldn't do, and I don't think I would ever do this, but I hope my mama and daddy raised me to be about this. And I try to be about this even in the small stuff that I do here. But I don't like using people or stepping on other people or causing other people to have and not achieved their prominence for my gain. I don't think I've ever done that. I mean, I brag. I mean, I can brag a little bit. Glenn Beck, I found Glenn Beck. I mean, he was a 24-year-old DJ in Dayton, Ohio that had been in Louisville, Kentucky when I met him, and I brought him to Phoenix, and we plastered the billboards. We put him on TV. We put him as the centerpiece of our radio station, and Glenn exploded. Now, what he did after he worked for me, I had nothing to do with, which is why he is so big today, is he became a talk show guy. That's great. But there's other personalities out there that I don't think I would ever hold back or do something to promote me at their expense. All that being said, I think Hogan is guilty of that. And I think a lot of the fans, especially the smart fans and the people that have been into wrestling 100% every day of the week for the last 25, 30 years, sort of realize that. And I think that's the backbone for, as far as his political views, yeah, that may have had something to do with it. But I just think it's almost like hey, we've got this great wrestling show and we're going to bring out a cartoon character and you're expected to, to accept that. And, and as the world turns, as well as I do, Hogan is more of a cartoon figure in today's world than he was even back then.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Quickly, I want to run over this show. So this is a 3 hour plus show, maybe 3 hours and 10 minutes. There wasn't as many commercials. Now, I heard online today on Busted Open that they're putting together sales teams, and there was commercials. I'm not saying there's not, but in China and all these different countries all over the world, they have sales team where they'll insert localized spots there. So the money potential is unbelievable. Now, when you hear 3 hours, you're thinking, how many matches would you think in a 3 hour show that they have?
10.
They had 4.
Really?
They had 4. But what they had, I thought was sensational. They started with that video I told you about that showed the Lawler Kaufman and the history of wrestling. They played the music. This was in Los Angeles, California. The music played. Here comes The Rock, and the people, as Pat Patterson would say, go banana. They went nuts. And people have short memories. And Busted Open, Bully Ray and Dave LaGreca was all going crazy. It didn't bother me a bit. Didn't bother me a bit that the last time we saw Rock in April, he was a heel. He was absolutely a heel. But they come back. Here's the thing. A lot of people seeing wrestling all over the world that's never seen it, but by God, they know who that man is. The Rock.
You're right about that.
He's a huge star. So him coming back as a baby face, and again, I think different. Michael thinks different because we've been in the business and have been in broadcasting and been in media and all the things we do. People that's mad about the fact that The Rock ignored the fact with Cody and his heel turn, he didn't really ignore it. He came out, he was on fire. There was Hollywood stars all over the place. It was a event, a festival. It was great. He came out and did a great interview. The Rock is glad to be back on Netflix. And they said, that's most said The Rock is glad to be in Los Angeles, and the people popped. It was great. And then he said, then this is the little babyface thing. So he didn't ignore Cody. Cody was on, and a lot of the talent throughout the show, they milked and bring it in, and they show them, and they're trying to introduce and get over. Remember, we all know who Cody Rhodes is, but maybe somebody in a faraway country do not. Well, The Rock endorsed him as he said, for the last year, the man that's kept these doors open and carried this company and took it to the best place it's ever been and brought it to Netflix is Cody Rhodes. Cody stood up, people went crazy, and then a little humor, because back to his angle, he says, because he got heat with this before, but he did it in a babyface way, and said, Cody, be sure to tell Mama Rhodes The Rock says hello. It was just fantastic. It was. And that's how they opened up the show, Michael, with that video. And then Rock came out. And they also in that video, and we'll get to it in a minute now. I know you asked a question earlier, but I want to try to get to this in order of the show. And we'll get to this. But it's important to know that right there, they're setting the tone for the main event that ended up going on first. It was, of course, Roman Reigns against Solo with the head of the bloodline at stake. And so The Rock says, man, I'm going to keep my eyes on this. I'm going to pay attention to this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And he left, and they went to right to Roman Reigns in the first match of the show. How can you complain about just 4 matches when you open a show with that and you ended the show with Seth Rollins against CM Punk, for Christ's sakes? Then you spread other matches in. So what do you think about that Rock promo, real quick?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to say it, but let me think. Here's my deal on The Rock. The Rock is a national treasure for the movies. He's a national treasure for television. My grandson knows him. My grandson wants to meet him. There's nobody else that would thrill Joshua more than to meet The Rock or to see The Rock. And he knows him as The Rock. I don't think The Rock, here's what I think. I think fans know that when The Rock is a heel, he's playing a part in a movie. He's playing a movie part as a heel in the wrestling match. I don't think Rock, as his persona, as what he does. He was on the Golden Globes the night before. He was the opening presenter on the Golden Globes on CBS on Sunday night. There's nothing that The Rock can do outside of human torture of somebody, not in the wrestling business, that's going to turn people from knowing that The Rock is the ultimate babyface. He's a good guy. People love The Rock. The Rock is the biggest, in my opinion, I think he's the biggest superstar in movies, television, and broadcast media that there is today, without a shadow of a doubt. And if he ran for president next time around, it wouldn't surprise me, because I think he is that kind of charismatic character that can lead, and I think people could follow him.
Michael, one of the things that we're saying is true, a national icon, all that. But here's the thing, and this is what I'm trying to not embellish, but to get in everybody's head. The game has changed, people, like it's never changed before, because a lot of people don't have cable TV anymore. A lot of people gave up that. Everybody, or most people, had streaming. He is a global star, and that's the difference. So the opening match of the night was Solo against Roman Reigns with that little red lathe that Solo had stolen, that signified that Roman was the head of the family. And Solo, after Roman got beat by Cody Rhodes and he went away, Roman went away, pronouns pal, Roman went away, then Solo beat up Paul Heyman, and so the gimmick, the red gimmick, Adam's doing a fantastic job. So if you can find that red lathe, that deal right there signifies that he wasn't earned. It was earned by Roman. Roman got it from the family of the Samoans. I mean, this is a tremendous heritage, and we know it. And that was at stake. That goes back to the basis of our business. Issues, family issues draw money. Personal issues draw money. So they fought over that. And they had maybe a 12-minute match, because I'll go ahead and answer your question now. I liked every match on the show. I really did. That was my favorite because they did, and a lot of wrestling fans don't like the crazy finishes, but it's Memphis Wrestling 101. They ran in all kinds of people. They ran in Sammy Zayn, and they ran in all kinds of people. The rest of the Solos supporters, and then here came Kevin Owens, and here comes Kevin Owens in. Who's he feuding with? Cody Rhodes. So who came in to help then Roman? Cody Rhodes. And they had a big deal, and false finish after false finish. Memphis Wrestling 101. It looked like Roman was going to be screwed. Finally, Paul was all screwed in all his facial expressions. He was worried to death, but Roman ended up getting the spear. The 1, 2, 3 people went crazy. And then all of a sudden, here came The Rock. Here came the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, professional wrestling today. And people were saying, what is he going to do? Is he going to turn on him? What's he going to do? He walked over to Paul Heyman and he got the red leg. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right or not, but he went to get it. And he walked up to Roman. And the people didn't know what would happen next. Wrestling one-on-one, storytelling one-on-one. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just didn't know. I had an idea because I'm thinking you really can't go the hill right route when you're going global for the first time with the most recognizable guy you have on the show. You can't do that. So he ends up putting a leg over Roman's head, signifying he's the head of the bloodline. He shook his hand and they hugged, and the people went crazy. A dynamite segment. Dynamite opening probably 40 minutes of that show. Michael, your thoughts real quick.
Well, I just real quickly, I would have predicted that finish, that afterbirth, and again to establish that global. I think you hit on the big the thing. This is the big global push, and you've got the biggest star globally that is well known in The Rock, and you're putting a new product over. You're also giving people what they want on the first show, so they're gonna come back. But you know the beauty of Netflix, and I was just thinking about this while you were talking. I can go back and watch that right now on demand, right here on this next screen that I have to my right as we're talking about it. The beauty about Netflix is that you can go back and re-watch the show at your convenience, whether you live in Huntsville, Alabama, or you live in Huntsville, Texas, or you live in Mozambique. And that, I think, is going to further, now that word gets out about how great the show was, is going to further that. I would love to see what the view rate is a week from now on the replays of that show on Netflix.
One thing that I suggest, if you can break into your wife's Netflix account, and if you could just breeze, so you probably don't have 3 hours, you're a busy man, but if you can watch some of that stuff, especially that opening segment in the match, I think you will love it. Our buddy Brad Collins says that he is a little concerned about 3 hours moving forward for both brands. This past week, SmackDown was 3 hours. They're going back to 2 hours. That was just apparently a trial thing. So as far as this is the thing, because you're not dealing with network TV and schedules and all that sort of thing. It can be what it is. And so it may not be 3 hours every week. It might be an hour and 30 minutes.
Let me just add this. Networks, especially the streaming networks, are looking for programming. There are people getting on the streaming networks that have no business being on any kind of media, and they're getting their shows on those networks because the networks need that programming. And wrestling, Randy, as you well know, despite these multi-million-dollar stars you're seeing, wrestling is still one of the cheapest live events that you could produce for any video medium.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. So let's run over this a little more. Then I really enjoyed this world title match that was next, and they built it up. It was for the WWE Ladies Championship. It was Liv Morgan, hell of a heel, and Dirty Dom Mysterio is a hell of a heel, and he was there in that group with them, and they were a part of that, and against Rhea Ripley, who is tremendous. This was a hell of a match. Joe Mobley said, do you believe everything on Facebook on wrestling? I don't know why you would ask me that, Joe. Of course I don't believe everything I read on Facebook on wrestling. I don't believe everything I read on Facebook about anything. You verify it. I'm a wrestling business guy. I have sources, Joe. Plus I have a knowledge of this business. So I give opinions about this business, and I have close people that's affiliated in a great way with the WWE. So no, I'm not believing everything. I don't know if you admit that as an insult, but I'll fucking take it as one. Next match on the show is Drew McIntyre against Jey Uso. the Usos. What a hell of a tag team. First time maybe since the Rock and Roll Express as a babyface tag team got over. And maybe let's don't say that. Because the Hardys and Edge and Christian and all over big time for the WWF. So say first time since then. And Jey Uso then later became a hell of a maybe the second or third most over babyface, the number one merch seller. Now Jim Cornette really blasted Jay on his wrestling ability, his working ability. He admits he's over, and he sells tickets, and he sells merchandise and all that. He just thinks some of his stuff is phony. It's just a different business what we used to. Would in 1977 would we have not put him in the corner and say, hey, you need to work on that? But it's a different business. It's just, and you can't imagine the number one goal of any wrestling company, any company period, is making money. Making money. And he making money. Look at all the stars there. Cody and so many, and he's the number one merch seller. Drew looks like a heel. He's so believable. They had a hell of a match. I thought they go the heel route in that. I really did, but I'm thinking if they beat Jay a little bit too much, I think, and I'm thinking he's a cash cow as far as merchandise is concerned. But they had a hell of a match. It was exciting. I would say that was my second favorite match of the night. My third favorite match, was the girls' match. My fourth favorite match out of four was Punk and Seth. Even though I liked the match and it was a hell of a match, I just like the other three matches better. So, comments on, and we'll just have one more to go, and then we'll get to Memphis Wrestling. But comments on that, Jey Uso, the situation we discussed.
Well, I think you're right about the Usos being the best babyface tag team perhaps since the Rock and Roll Express or the Fabs, comparing it back to Memphis days. Memphis, with the Fabs being as big in Memphis as they were, looking on a national and a worldwide scale, looking at the Usos. Here's the deal, though. And Randy, I have to ask this because when I watch wrestling today, to me, I'm watching to see how good the players play, how good the workers work. I can see, just like you, we've got a professional eye. We've learned from the masters of the business back in the day. You can see when a punch falls short. You can see when a drop kick misses. You can, without having to say it out loud, you can say, oh, shit, that look like the drizzling shit. You know what I'm saying? And so my question to you as a promoter and as somebody that knows that your meat and potatoes with this business is the merchandising, the selling, the advertising, the big money coming your way. How important is it today that a star athlete on your roster in professional wrestling is a damn good worker? Maybe not as important as it was even 10 years ago.
I think the definition of a good worker changes. In its inset, a good worker is somebody that gets the people. Jay can do that. Is he the smoothest on punches? No. That match, I wish you'd watch that match too. Could you pick it apart like Cornette does? I don't see any reason to do that at all. The guy's over and the guy's making money, and the styles are different. Remember, Buddy Wayne used to say the Fabulous Ones were killing Memphis because it was a different style that he was used to. It was killing the thing. Do we do the same thing and say these young guys are killing the business when obviously the business has never been watched more? And he's one of the top guys. So I've never met the guy, so it's not like I'm defending somebody that I'm buddies with. I've never met the guy. Can I knock him? I can certainly do that because I think I'm sensitive about this because my good friend Dave Brown lost a daughter with drunk driving. Both the Usos have had multiple DUIs. I think that's unexcusable. I think that's why it took. I think the charisma and the likability was always there. I think he had to be clean for 4 or 5 years without getting in trouble before the WWE corporate would say, as business people would say, we're going to trust this guy, we're going to trust him, and I think they do now. But
Well, whenever I'm in
not to
Pensacola,
lose.
I eat at his favorite restaurant, which is down off of Halifax, the seafood restaurant down there that is fabulous, and they've got him plastered all over the place. And I agree with you. I mean, in this day and time, I think that the public has a different eye on things that happen in a personal life versus a professional life. And yes, you're right. And I totally agree about the DUI and the DWI thing. I couldn't agree more. To me, that is one of the most devastating things you can be arrested for, because you're not only putting your life in jeopardy, you're putting the rest of the world that you are connecting with in jeopardy as well. So I'm a big DUI. To me, slam the book on them. I mean, we don't even want to go there. But I think the public sees that it happens. They do their mea culpas. And I think the public loves to tear down a superstar, but they love a good comeback story. They love a good comeback story.
Yeah.
And I think that plays into this.
Adam has a couple more pictures, and we'll wait for him. This is the stare down. And once again, it was personal issues, draw money, and there's a personal history going back years with Seth Rollins. And let's just look at that picture. I don't like him dressed up like that. I just don't. But Seth is a hell of a worker, one of the best in that company, very good. I've never been a huge Punk fan, but he does amazing promos, and they had a very good match. And Punk ended up winning the match. On Busted Open, they said, oh, they just killed off Seth Rollins. They killed him off. And they didn't kill him off. One loss ain't going to kill anybody off. It probably will send him in another direction. He might go nuts. He might come back not wearing that silly garbage. He might not. I think we have one more match as we finish up this thing. And here is The Undertaker. I forgot about him. He made a surprise, and they incorporated that. He came out as the American Badass, not as The Undertaker, but as the personality of the American Badass, and he went around the ring, and Rhea Ripley won the WWE Ladies Championship match, absolutely, and then he endorsed her. Look who Rhea Ripley is with, The Undertaker, leaving the building. What do you think, Michael? And by the way, Brad, you said the promo he cut after the match was epic. Which promo are you talking about? Remind me. And Al says, I like the new set where you can see the crowd over the top. It was just a wonderful, maybe Adam can find a crowd shot of that, or building set up or any kind of stuff like that last night. But yeah, are you a Punk fan?
You know, I think I saw a T-shirt. In fact, Mia, the young lady we've adopted, is she was going to buy it for me, and she didn't. I told her she should have. And the T-shirt or the sweatshirt says, "I'm the nicest asshole you'll ever meet," and that sort of to me is what Punk's persona is. And he gets away with it, and I think he's got that edge to him, and I think that's what puts him over. Also, I think he's one of the better workers in the ring. Now, that's from an old school perspective. But I think Punk is one of those guys that can go with anyone. I'm hoping to see Punk versus Cody down the road pretty soon for the championship. And I think Punk, and I think a lot of people respect Punk, whether it was a work or a shoot. A Punk telling Vince McMahon to go shove it long before Vince McMahon was, reviled by his audience But as a Punk, I'm not going to say I'm a big Punk fan, but I like Punk's role in all of this, if that makes sense.
As we're wrapping this up, as we go in Memphis Wrestling 1985 in just a minute, we've spent almost an hour, and our numbers have been real good, and they've grown, and it's all super, and so we really don't get into, and this is modern wrestling as we present it in a positive way, and the people are really responding to it. They obviously watched the show last night. So, Michael, what do you think of our coverage of spending the last hour, as this is a Memphis Wrestling themed show, but it's a talk show, and we're going to talk about anything we want to talk about. Have you enjoyed this last hour?
I would have enjoyed it more, and I really have, but I would have enjoyed it more if I had seen the show and been a little bit more knowledgeable of what we're talking about. And I will go back, not tonight, but tomorrow night. Joshua will be over here, so he and I are going to watch Monday Night Raw on Netflix tomorrow night and get a perspective of where this might be going. But I think as a wrestling show, and you and I talked about this over the holiday, and Pat and I talked about this, you've got to move the needle. And yes, we're talking Memphis wrestling, and we hold Memphis wrestling in high abeyance on this program. But I think a lot of things that happen in today's world of professional wrestling can relate back to Memphis wrestling, either in a positive way or a negative way. But I think it can relate back to Memphis wrestling. And like you said many times, and you said it several times in this first hour, personal issues draw money. And what was the entire Netflix show you just talked about, the 4 matches they had, every match had what going for it? The common thread, personal issues.
It's the main deal. It is. It's absolutely the main deal. So you're on board with from time to time when they're, and we talked about it, this mainstream news, and we'll throw in the thing. I tell you what I did today. I spent about an hour this afternoon watching CNN, and I watched President Carter's number 39. I believe I'm right on the number that he is of presidents. He was landed in Washington D.C. and was going to lay in state at the Capitol, and all the talking heads and all the information and hearing them play Hail to the Chief and the Honor Guard and all that kind of stuff. I like seeing stuff like that.
Well, that's history, and that's pageantry, and that's something that our government, that this United States does just about as well as anybody in the whole world, with the exception of the royal family in England. So, in the passing of Jimmy Carter, I have been very vociferous in my comments about him. I never thought he was a great president. I think he's the worst president ever, personally, but he was a man that stood for what he stood for and was the leader of the free world for 4 years. And for that, he is deserving of what send off, if you would, that the American government, the American people are seeing. And I'm like you. When the Pope dies, I'm glued to the TV. When a president dies, I'm glued to the TV. Unfortunately, I had to go out and talk to clients today and didn't get to watch it, but I'll catch it tonight, because while I'm finishing up after the show, I'll catch up on everything that went on today. But, there are waypoints in the world, but there are also waypoints in wrestling. And I think what you hit on tonight, Randy, I think we'll look back and see as a waypoint in wrestling. Pin it today, or pin last night, as to what happened with professional wrestling on TV in a mass media format on Netflix. I think we'll look back in 5 years, 10 years from now and say that was a turning point or a defining moment in professional wrestling in the 21st century.
All right, 1985. Let's get into it, and it will be the first week we get into it. We might not get into a lot at all, but we will, and I'll do your recap. We wrapped up on December the 17th, our last time together with Michael St. John and I talking about 1984. We started with 74, breezed through until 74. We started 85. Now, Jerry Lawler ended up starting the year 84 booking. Jerry Jarrett came back, took over, and toward the end of the year, Jerry just wasn't fired up, wasn't motivated. So he got Lawler to take over again. And 85 started with Jerry Lawler doing the booking. And then a phone call that Jerry Jarrett got from a former Mass great Tom Renesto, a booker that was successful for Nick Goulas, that was successful in Puerto Rico, that was the last successful booker in the Mike LaBelle Los Angeles territory. He did a great job there. We used to call him the silver tongued devil because, man, he can talk. And he talked himself into a job. So in March of 85, he came in. Well, Jimmy Hart, at the same time, a little nervous about that. He knew Jerry Jarrett loved him, knew Lawler loved him, didn't know so much. He was afraid that maybe Tom Renesto would have his own manager. And it just so happened that Vince McMahon, Howard Finkel was the person that watched all the territories tapes. And he told Vince and showed Vince the Memphis tape, and they hired Jimmy Hart. So in March of 85, Renesto came in, started booking for a few weeks. It really didn't work. I wish Randy West was on this show today. And then Jerry Jarrett ended up, and basically Renesto was still called the booker. He was really the assistant booker, and Jerry Jarrett was doing the booking. 85 started with Lawler booking. And Adam, are you at the point can you help me with running videos, or do Adam was on the phone. He said taking a business call, and we're going to start the video deal. There was a great situation, a great feud, and this is the first one I think that is up there, and this is Your Life, Jerry Lawler. It's something Eddie Gilbert did. Eddie Gilbert came on his own as a heel. A lot of this, I'm sure, and it's based on, and Eddie Gilbert did a lot of stuff because Lawler was his favorite wrestler of all times. He did a lot of stuff, including General Lawler, General Gilbert, that sort of thing, and that's human nature. You model yourself, not copy, but you model yourself over people that you love, that you absolutely love. This is Your Life, Eddie Gilbert from the
Okay, we're going to be seeing the King in action, brand new wrestler we haven't had on Championship Wrestling. Joe Lightfoot from Quebec will be in here, and some other action. We said we were going to give him some time. We had maybe a question or two we wanted to ask him. Here is the former international heavyweight title holder, Eddie Hot Stuff Gilbert.
Well, what a dead crowd we have here. The young people are so stupid. But, you know, Lance, you see what I have in my hand here, right?
Oh, I see it. It's the Jerry Lawler book, The Crowning of the King.
That's right. You know, earlier this week, I picked this book up, and, you know, boy, it surprised me. I'm really impressed by the King, you know. First of all, usually when people have great careers and they're great professionals, they usually do have a book written about them. And so that has really sparked something in my mind today. It has really brought me to this point that I think this show today is going to be dull anyway because of wrestling. You know, with some of the people you got in here.
Have you seen this before, Michael?
But what I want to do is call this show a little different.
Yes, sir, I have.
Title it something else. What I want to call this, if you just, will you hold this book here just a second? What I like to call this is Jerry Lawler, This Is Your Life.
That's right. Come on, Eddie. What is this?
That's right. Don't you think this would be great? See, don't you remember Ralph Edwards with This Is Your Life?
Certainly I
See,
remember
I expect when people have great careers that they should look back sometimes, just like in this book here. You should look back over your careers. But we got to have our honored guest out here. We got to have Jerry Lawler out here. Is there any way you can get him out here? Because
No, I don't think there's any way I can get him out here. But, oh, you want to lay that up there? If we got a staple gun, and we might be able to put that up on the set.
I kind of feel like Mr. Rogers here a little bit.
Yeah, you
Can
kind
I
of.
borrow it? Okay, since this is my part now, This Is Your Life, Jerry Lawler, could we please, can somebody say?
Have an interview, not the whole
Oh, that's
show.
okay, Lance. I know you'd like the break anyway. Is there any way to get Jerry Lawler out here? Could somebody check, please? Because I can't do this without the King out here. Hey, look, and I promise, this is legit. This is on the up and up. There will be nothing going
Love
on out
that
here, Lance.
three-breasted
You know me.
look on
I wouldn't lie to
Lance
you.
Russell.
Got waiting to
Just
Oh.
Nobody's here. I promise.
He was
Check
right.
check behind the curtains. Come on, King. Come on. Eddie Gilbert's not going to bother you. Come on out here. Come on out here. There he is. Lance, you hold on this minute. Let me plug this up here.
Yeah, I figure that Jerry can take care of himself, but he is well aware of the fact you're the one that called him out here for all this stuff.
King, I don't know if you heard me. I was just telling Lance and all your great people here in Memphis and around the area and everywhere that I'm really impressed with this book about you. I'm really impressed with you because you are the king of wrestling. And I think that we should call this Is Your Life. And I think we should look back at your great career. So, is this all right with you?
I'll tell you what's all right with me, Gilbert. I just thought I'd come out here and watch you make a complete fool out of yourself, and when I get through...
This is all yours today. This is your day, Jerry.
Yeah, I know. You can't make a fool out of yourself. God already beat you to it. But let me just say this. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to listen
Is
for a few
Lawler
minutes, but
heavier
remember,
than normal in this
this
picture?
show is all about wrestling.
Yeah.
brother, and when I get through
Looks that
listening
way,
to you run that
absolutely.
little mouth of yours, I'm going to put my fist right in it. You understand that?
Oh, I can understand you're probably a little upset. You probably don't trust me, but I'll put your mind at ease.
Why.
Okay, as we look back into Jerry Lawler's great career, there's the first man that really dawns on me. And, well, don't let me say any more. I want to see if you can recognize this voice, Jerry.
All right now, Eddie.
Jerry Lawler's big man on campus. No, I'm not.
Hey, you know this is Jim White, your very first tag team partner, Lawler.
We were team. And he went on and he became the big champion, big man. And a lot of people
Sounds
say
like
that,
Jerry
I just became
Certainly
all
does to
drunk.
me. I was thinking the same
And
thing.
I
I wasn't in the office by this
a
point.
little, but I'm gonna make a comeback. I can make a single. I can be a champion just like Jerry can. Listen, I don't. Well, it's his day, and he ought to have it.
That's right, Lawler. Jim White, your very first tag team partner, a man that you cast aside, that you put out to pasture because you, Lawler, you want to go on your own to the top to be the Southern Heavyweight Champion, right? Well, I'm right, I know. Well, yeah, okay. Well, as I look back again, another man, looking through your book there, that I realized that is a very good part of your career was, well, he's not here today, and we couldn't even get him here today. But we do have something on it I want you to take a look at. If you can look at the monitor.
Eddie, this.
Hey, that's it. The referee was knocked down too. Sam Bass in the ring with Jerry Lawler.
That's right, Lawler. Sam Bass. A man that molded your career, that started you off on the right road to be the king of wrestling. But what happened to Sam Bass? Oh, well, like everything else, you wanted to be the king. You wanted to be the head honcho. So Sam Bass was busy carrying your bags for you into the arenas and carrying them on the road with him, that you, being the man that you were, wanted to fly to all the matches. And on that fateful night, that summer night in 1976, the night that you decided to fly to the match, poor old Sam Bass had to drive. But he never made it home that night, Lawler.
That's not...
Yes, he met his doom.
Eddie,
And he's not here today. He's not here today because Sam Bass is in a grave. Because you, Lawler, you put him there.
Are you done now?
No, I'm not. I still have yet more people. See, I spent a lot of money this week. I have more people. And see, I want you to recognize another voice because you were wanting to go for the Southern Heavyweight title. Laura and Lance, both of you, I want you to listen to this voice very clearly.
Do you know, I don't really remember too much about the match. I do remember that I was a wrestling upcoming star, I'll have to say that. And I was wrestling
Tommy Gilbert.
at that time for my Southern
Right.
Championship. One thing that I do remember is that I got a glimpse of Lawler pulling something out of his trunks. And later I was told, after I come to in the dressing room, that it was a chain that he used. And then I understood that he was the champion then. Then I didn't have my belt anymore. Jerry Lawler was the Southern Heavyweight Champion.
That's right, Lawler. That man, if you'll step out here, is my dad, Tommy Gilbert. The man you pulled a chain out and started your reign as a Southern Heavyweight title, right, Dad?
Lawler, I guess that made you feel awful big, didn't it? Then you was a Southern champion, wasn't you?
Oh, what a terrible, terrible way to win a title. Oh. Now, as we step on up in history again, another man that you wind up using and abusing along your treacherous ways was, well, see if you can recognize this voice.
You told me I was going to be a star. You brought me you found me down in Philadelphia, Mississippi, plowing a mule.
Well,
you told a lie. I've never been to Philadelphia, Mississippi. I'm not from Philadelphia, Mississippi.
If we could get this man out here, please. Playboy Frazier. Step up here, Playboy. Another man, Lawler, another man. Is it true that you're from Philadelphia, Mississippi?
No, I'm not from Philadelphia, Mississippi. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, Lawler, another man that you took and just made a fool out of in front of everybody.
You're making a fool out of yourself and trying to make one out of all these people with all this garbage.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. The next man, Lawler, he wasn't able to be here either. But we do have some footage of him, I think, that you should listen to and watch on the monitor.
Apologize for all the wrestling I've ever done, all the abuse I've ever given to people that didn't understand what I was doing. And
Lawler grabs him straight up. Lawler with a pile driver. Only the second move by Lawler, and bang goes Kaufman. He's going to give it to him again. He figures he's already lost it. Hart trying to get the big guy loose from the rope. And look at Lawler go to work on him. He picks Andy up. He's going to suplex him. Hey, here comes Lawler. Andy Kaufman sitting down at the ringside. Lawler coming in. Kaufman, hey! Lawler got the fire right at him. The assassin.
Oh, boy, sometimes I really can't believe you. There was a man, a poor little sickly comedian, Lawler, not even a wrestler, that you took him night after night, dropped him on his head so you could get national attention, so you could get national exposure. Yeah, Lawler, you. And where's Andy Kaufman today? He's in a grave also, because probably those pile drivers you gave him caused that cancer that he died of, Lawler. That's true. No, Lance. Excuse me. Let's get back over here. This is your life. And so far, I know you must have chill bumps all over your body. Probably kind of feel probably like Scrooge and the ghost of the past, right? But anyway, we have yet another man that I've gone to great trouble to get here today. And if I can, please, if you'll listen very closely to this man.
Oh, man, Lawler, I wouldn't miss this for anything in the world. I'm the man who guided you to the top of your career, baby. You were down and out, baby, scumming around this town, baby. Hadn't even won a match in 6 months. And what did you do? You called the greatest man in the world today. That's right, Jimmy Hart, baby. And what did I do for you? I won you the Southern Heavyweight Championship belt. Then you won the CWA Championship belt. And, baby, you were in line. We had a shoe-in for the NWA title. But no, Jerry Lawler wanted to do everything by himself. He wanted to be in music. What did Jimmy Hart do for him? I took the worst voice in the history of music, Jerry Lawler's voice, and make him into where he sounded halfway decent, baby. So you had your gold records. You had everything, baby, just like Jimmy Hart had. And what did you do to me, baby? You tried to drop me like a bad habit, brother. Well, baby, it's like Eddie Gilbert said, man. There's a lot of people waiting for you to fall, King, baby. Like I said, there's a lot of people.
That's right, Jerry Lawler. The man that started you out. The greatest manager in the world today, Jimmy Hart. Right, Jimmy?
You better believe it, baby. You're finished, man. There's a lot of people waiting for you to fall, King. I want you to realize that. A lot of people, just like the kid said here, baby. Just like he said.
That's right, Lawler. I want you to think now. I want you to look at all these guests I had here today. I hope you remember all that footage you saw, all the people from Jim White, Sam Bass, Tommy Gilbert, Playboy Frazier, Andy Kaufman, and Jimmy Hart. Now, Lawler, what this all boils down to is all these men that you've seen, and probably a lot of more, have watched you sit at the top now. It's probably very lonely up there, isn't it? But now they're wanting to watch you as you fall, brother. And see, that's where I come in, because I'm in the position now to where I'm going to be the man to put you at the bottom. Where's my book? Lawler, here's your book, and this is your life, and I hope you've been very, very proud of it.
I hope you're through with it. That's all I can say. Finally, after taking up that and carrying on and telling your side of it, your version of it in there. Obviously, everything he did, Jerry, is slanted by Eddie Gilbert in the way he wanted it to appear and come across that way. And I'm sorry it came out that way, but I didn't expect any more out of it.
No, you know, I don't exactly know what I should say or what to say at a time like this. You know, he has all this footage of Sam and Andy Kaufman and things like that. Eddie Gilbert, as I said, and I almost hate to say this, Lance, but he almost reminds me of myself when I was, you know, like him, a young, cocky punk trying to come up who thought that I could take on anything and everybody. And I remember at the time, here was Jackie Fargo on the top of the heap at that time, and I couldn't wait till I got my hands on Jackie Fargo. And I think Eddie Gilbert's probably looking at the same situation now with me.
Yep.
Well, all I can tell Eddie Gilbert is, if he thinks that he's going to come in here and knock me off the top of the heap, brother, you got your hands full, and I'm ready anytime you want.
Well, maybe we can get back into the ring here with action. We're going to take time out, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I haven't seen that in a long time. I am Randy Hill. This is Talking Memphis Wrestling. Talk from our expert, Michael St. John.
Well, I think it was it went longer than I think they intended it to go. And I liked the way they set up the angle. They didn't get into a brouhaha. They didn't start fighting right there. And Lawler was sort of, you know, depressed after it was all over with, but yet he made the comment that, you know, that basically Eddie would pay for it. And it started building the year. So, you know, to kick off the year on that sort of note, I think it's a shot where perhaps they were looking at something to create a good angle, and here's an opportunity that presented itself right in the face.
The Fabulous One, end of '84, after being fired earlier by Jerry Lawler, then Jerry Jarrett brought them back, and the Fabs were back, and there was a situation with the Fabulous One's fathers, and I don't know if Adam's back on set or not. This is a 8-minute and 32-second video. The Fabulous One's fathers attacked as we watch this from January 26, 85.
We're going to be talking to Kern and Lane today, and we are, in fact. But by golly, maybe not Stan and Steve. We want to welcome, and we're delighted we're able to get tickets and have them right here today. Dick Kern, this is Steve's dad, and Wally Lane, this is Stan's dad.
We're glad to be here.
By golly, we're glad to have you up here, Dick. First time that we've had the pleasure of having you here in Memphis, and you guys don't live too far away from
Well, I live in Florida, and Wally lives in North Carolina, but we're sorry, girls. We disappoint you, not the original. We are the original.
Yeah, this is the original Kern and Lane right here. Well, we're really pleased to have you fellas up here, and I know that it's difficult sometimes to get an opportunity to see Stan and Steve in action because those guys wrestle all over the country.
Yeah, we're kind of glad that possibly they might move back here, but...
oh, hey.
It's going to take...
I was going to say, Lance, you know, these fellas left here. Tennessee is really their second home. And they have a lot of fans here. We've enjoyed watching them over the years, and we can't watch them as much when they're way off in the country, San Francisco and Chicago and places like that. So I think if you can twist their arms, maybe they'll come back here.
Now, don't be talking to me about twisting their arms. You guys have to do a little of that, too, isn't it? We would like very much to have them back here. You know that, and we'll be talking to them the very next time that we see them and pass on those words, and I hope you guys will, too, because I know the fans would love to have them back in here. We'll be with you. Just a minute, will you?
Get over here.
Come on, Troy, will you get out of here?
These guys are not wrestlers. Why don't you get over here and interview the Southern
The Dream Machine, Troy Graham. The manager of the interns, Roger Smith, Don Bass, the former
Troy, did anybody ever tell you you're rude? That's all you are.
Rude, man. You're crazy. This is a wrestling show. Them two geeks don't have nothing to do with wrestling. We are the Southern Heavyweight Champions. We won the tournament, baby. Hey, hey, hey. We got the belts, and we're going to keep them. Lane, Kern.
Boy, those are the original belts
boys.
for Andy.
It don't make no difference, baby. Nobody's a threat to Graham and the
Man.
interns. You understand what I'm saying? You don't need to be talking to these two fat slobs over here. Talk to some real champions, baby. Then we're going to drop these boys in the ring right here like yesterday's garbage. Come on, get them in here.
Yeah, the very rude Mr. Troy Graham and the interns heading up to the ring. We will be back to
I thought Don Bass and Roger Smith, whether they were the Assassins or the A-Team or the interns, you know, we were used to the interns wearing white trunks, and I like that better than Dr. and Rainey. But Donnie and Roger are a great team.
I agree, they're a great team, but they didn't look like the original interns with Ken Ramey. Too bad Pat's not on the show, because he always said that Ken Ramey was the one guy that always, to this day, scares him to death. That's the Thin Lizzy song, The Boys Are Back in Town. I remember Randy West did a fabulous job with this. He did a great job with all of the videos that he created, but this, I think, was this was an award winner in my opinion. Great edits, great action. Shows it all.
Man, what a video.
It's too bad. I'm singing, I'm humming the music along with the video through this, but boy, it is. This is a great video. Like I said, I think this was an award winner.
How many times did you ride in the back of that limousine, Michael?
Only once, believe it or not. Only once. But that was, I think Jerry had a position, a very special place in his heart for his limo. And in fact, I'm trying to think. Our referee later in the 90s, Paul, drove it the time I was in it.
Paul Neighbors, yes.
Paul Neighbors.
Absolutely. And Dave, the reason we muted the audio is copyrighted video, and we could get absolutely pulled from YouTube and be penalized against Facebook. We can't show copyrighted
Kern and
deal.
Roy Lane over here.
Now
Steve's dad. If you guys will come over here, maybe we can get finished when we started.
Continue
you know,
with
the
this.
folks really get a kick out of seeing Stan and Steve in specials like that, and in action, of course, you guys.
Well, it gives you kind of feeling of pride when you see them on the TV.
I know it has got to be, and they are both really fine athletes, and they've done exactly what they said.
Were either of these guys wrestlers, Randy, to your knowledge?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, come on, boy.
Mr. Kern was a Vietnam vet, or a war vet. I'm not sure if it's Vietnam.
Why don't you roll that and show all the people who the true champions is, Russell?
Yeah, well,
This is 20th century.
okay.
This
This is the match that the interns and
beat them. We beat them, baby. We beat them.
Let's take a
Show
look
the
at it.
film, man. Show the film. You got the film. Is he asleep or what?
It's not asleep. There it is right now. And remember, this was for the Southern Tag titles. And everybody take a very close look at this bout.
Yeah, take a close look at it, baby.
Well, we know what the end result of it was.
That's right. We
This
were
was
victorious.
January 26th.
We're all really pleased with the
1985.
way you guys ended up winning the Southern
220 left in the
Tag
video.
Championship. Troy, we didn't need you out
I
here.
think Roger Smith and Don
care
Bass
what you
were
need,
overrated, or excuse me, underrated, because they made a good heel team no matter what their
Stan
incarceration
Lane,
was.
Steve Kern, who were
Whether it was
champions at
the
the time, and you
Assassins or
saw
the
that little
A-Team or
maneuver
the
in there. And of
interns,
course,
I made
this
a
1, 2,
comment, but I
3
think I
ended up
muted.
having the belts
when they
go
were
to the interns, and they have still got them right at
the
the moment.
interns,
Well, I
they
hope you're
wore the
satisfied.
same
You
stuff
can
they
leave
did
now.
as the
Please let
assassins.
us finish what
And
we
I
were
like
doing.
the
Maybe 1, 2, 3, we beat your
with Dr.
boy,
Ken
man. We beat
Rainey
you, Dick
in the
Hearn.
all
We
white.
beat your boy. Hey, I
I
want all
didn't
the
like
women
the
out there
look.
to take a good look. It's this big fat tub of spit. That's what Steve Kern's going to look like when you get 60 years old. That's what you're going to look like, Kern, when you get 60 years old.
That's pretty loud for a guy in a wheelchair. I think even as fat as I could beat you.
You think you could beat me? You couldn't beat nobody, man.
Boy, why don't you just get back?
Mr. Kern was a POW in Vietnam, and there he goes! Whoa! How many times have I said today, personal issues draw money? They were also firing flames, the A-Team, the Assassins, and the Interns. Lawler loved booking them. The fabulous one, Stan and Steve, not there this particular time.
Is that Michael Hayes on the right?
Too much, man. Too much.
Is that Michael or Hansel?
Okay. Let's,
Oh, well, maybe we'll get a better shot at it. I don't think that's Jimmy. I don't think that's Valiant. Maybe it is. There was Ernesto with his coat. You were mentioning Tom Ernesto. I always love talking to Tom. He's one of the most intelligent people that I ever come across at that point in the world of wrestling. And Tom had a fabulous voice. I mean, I would have given thousands of dollars to have that voice. He had the pipes, I'll tell you.
There's no doubt about it, and he came in with the booking, and we are still, again, one of the main reasons, obviously, that Jimmy Hart said he left is because he was worried about the booking change. He just got a better opportunity with no money. I'm sure he doesn't regret it. You saw him, as heard when I was doing the review. We showed a picture right beside Hulk Hogan was Jimmy Hart. I think certainly 100%. That was big for Hart. There was a situation where Hart left Memphis, and there you see Jimmy Hart in the background. Real American, Hulk Hogan there. Hart still kicking because he was in Los Angeles, California last night at the Great Dome there where the Clippers play, and he was a part of episode 1650 of Monday Night Raw. We want to watch the situation where Jimmy Hart left Memphis. It was a TV in February of 85. It's a 2-minute, 29-second video, and we'll watch that now, and this is classic.
It's enough to cover a whole bunch of... It's a lot of flour in here. It's enough to cover a lot of...
Would you quit crying about it? If they get a hold of it and they use it, I have an idea who they may want to use it.
That's right. Oh, that's good. See, you want to make fun of me because you want to see them dumping on me, don't you, Russell?
All I can tell you.
How do you like it on you? You look great.
All right, Hart.
You look great, Russell.
Get out of here. All right, Hart, you're out of here. You're out of here. You are suspended. You better believe I can. I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to put up with you around here anymore.
You look great, Russell.
Hart, you're suspended. Get out of here. Lynn, will you get that stupid fool out of here?
You know something, man? Something. The only reason Jimmy Hart's doing this right now is because he knows Eddie Martin is here to stop him.
Well,
and nobody will take up to the shot. Why don't you come?
I'll tell you one thing, Jimmy. You are suspended. You can believe it right now. You better believe what I'm telling you. You are suspended.
Suspend me?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to be around here anymore working with you. You just listen to what I'm telling you. Hart, you think you're so cotton-picking smart. That you watch it. You just see what I can get done with the whole thing.
I'll tell you one thing, Lance, right now. We got something for Jimmy Hart coming up, brother. We got a surprise. And one way or the other, Hart,
boy, this is the lowest thing you ever pulled. And anything you can do to me. Jimmy, get out of here. I don't want to see you around here anymore. You are suspended. Now get out of here. You just take an opportunity. You think because Marlon's not here. Well, I can tell you something else. We got a little pull in there, brother, and you better get out of here right now. I'm sick of it.
Right now, put it on me, Jackson. Try to throw me in the snow, Jackson. He ain't man enough. You ain't got guts enough. Why didn't you stop you around?
Get out of
That
here.
is Lynn Denton.
I'll tell you, somebody on. You just
can't suspend me. There's no way you can suspend me. What gives you the authority?
You just watch and see what kind of authority I got.
Maybe I'll suspend you. Maybe I'll suspend
All right,
you.
Jimmy.
Okay, I'll brush it off.
Get out. You're not brushing off anything. Get out of here.
Okay, I'm with
You're done and out of it. Get out of here. I don't want to see you in here anymore.
You can't suspend
You want to get this thing.
One of the great things, and that was the way, and here's what happened. Hart got the phone call. Hart got the call and knew he was hired and knew he was leaving. In the meantime, there was a television that Saturday morning, and Jerry Lawler was out of the country, out of town. He wasn't at TV. Jerry Jarrett and Eddie Marlin were coming to run the television. However, big ice storm hit Nashville, Tennessee. So Jerry Jarrett called Eddie Gilbert and sent him the television and asked him to run him and Jimmy Hart. He called Jimmy Hart. Then Jimmy Hart actually asked Eddie Gilbert to help him. Hart was thinking of a way to get himself off of TV, and that's why he did the thing with Lance. And then he was still booked for a couple of weeks, and they had booked Lawler and Eddie Gilbert with Loser Leave Town. Hart was afraid for his safety, because back then, leaving for the opposition, that was certainly later. Even Jerry Jarrett himself and Lawler did and Jeff did. Everybody did it. But he was one of the first, and he was so close. But that was not a Jerry Jarrett idea. That was not something Jerry Jarrett knew that would happen, the powder. That's not something Jerry Lawler knew. Hart was just thinking, hey, you got to do a little deal there. So he took advantage of the fact he was laying the TV out. Your thoughts on that classic deal?
Well, sometimes you have to go against authority to make a monumental moment in anything you do. And I know that probably ruffled a lot of feathers and caused some bad blood later on. But Jimmy Hart was a very creative person. And Jimmy Hart loved to do things to push the envelope. And I think he pushed it as far as he could with Lance Russell. I was watching the powder, whether the flour that he had, the sack of flour, and I was trying to determine, was it flour or was it cornstarch? And I tried my best to try to see. I think it was gold medal flour that he was using, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it was Martha White, which is my favorite flour, Martha White flour. But anyway, I was wondering, and just the way it caked and fluttered and everything, it almost reminded me of cornstarch, which is a lot easier to get out of clothes than flour is. But Lance, I know Lance talked about that at one time. He and I were in the back before the show began and talking, and I think something came up, and I asked Lance whatever happened in his wrestling world in Memphis, doing Memphis wrestling, that absolutely caught him by surprise. And boy, that was the first thing he mentioned. That damn Jimmy. He didn't cuss, but I think he said darn, but that darn Jimmy Hart. And of course I had seen it originally, but I'll tell you, a monumental moment. And if Shane's watching, God, I love your dad. I thought about him over the holidays and the Christmas specials that he had done with Jerry Lawler and for Memphis wrestling back in the days. But what a great one. What a great one.
They had to have a reason, so they booked a Loser Leave Town match that on a Monday night. It was Loser Leave Town, Eddie Gilbert fighting for Jimmy Hart against Jerry Lawler at the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee. And here's the thing. Hart was afraid of his safety 100%, and so he didn't want to come. So Jarrett or Lawler or somebody found a guy in Louisville, Kentucky, named Tommy something or another, that looked exactly like Jimmy Hart. So he came around, did an interview, and he wasn't around long. But this is a Loser Leave Town match from Memphis, Tennessee. It's 9 minutes and 18 seconds. This is from February the 11th, 1985, Gilbert Lawler, loser leader.
That Lawler wins and regains the Southern Heavyweight title. Jimmy Hart will leave the territory for 1 year, will make no attempt to return under a mask or any other way. And by the same token, if Gilbert retains the title, Jerry Lawler has agreed he will leave his hometown and will not return or make an attempt within 1 year. The big surprise, whoa, the flying press put Lawler down, 2, and he kicked out. He almost had him. But boy,
you know, Randy, you're right about it.
It's hard to believe,
Jerry was much heavier
but you're
there
looking
than
at
he
it
even
right
was
here,
when he was
right
at the
now.
WWE.
Yes, sir.
And Gilbert firing away, nailing Lawler hard. Lawler right back, going for a pile driver. He drove him down. Gilbert escapes, gets out of the ring. If he hadn't have gotten out of the ring when he did, Lawler would have it over with right now. Whoa, boy, look at Gilbert.
Hello, Brooke. Tell us what's going on with you, buddy.
Catches him with a foot as he came in. Pounds ahead of Eddie Gilbert on that top turnbuckle. Gilbert down into the timer's table. His manager right over with him, trying to help him back up to the ring. That may do it. Gilbert rolling under the ropes.
That guy does look like Jimmy Hart, Michael.
What a lot of
Yes, he
size
does.
this
He'd be a
young
stunt
fella
double.
has picked up in the short time
I guess
he's been
was
a
the
pro
stunt double.
wrestler.
Yes, sir.
Over the top rope.
Didn't last long.
Lawler put him on the floor. Suplex. Lawler pounds Gilbert to the mat.
We welcome everybody
One.
to 2025 edition, show number 1 of Talking Memphis Wrestling for 2025. We miss you guys. We'll be back. We'll be around Monday for Power Pro Wrestling, and of course, we'll finish up 1985. We'll show more from 85 next week night. Hopefully, the entire crew will be around next week.
They grabbed that cane, jabbed it in Lawler's midsection, broke it over his back.
Hope to have the full crew next week.
Gotcha. I was listening to the commentary. I'm sorry. I was enthralled by Lance.
He's good, man.
Whoa, he pounded him hard. Gilbert coming off. Lawler's down, 2, and just barely saved himself. Lawler with his shoulders flat on the canvas. Gilbert trying to finish him off. Comes down with both feet right in the midsection. He was on the second turnbuckle. Buried him in the midsection with both feet. Eddie Gilbert going for the suplex. Pops Lawler down. Kind of 1, 2.
You know, it's sad to think of way that Eddie's career took the turn that
He
it
really
did
drove him into the canvas.
for his demise, because I think he would have ended up being one of the greatest ever.
And Lawler moves that left shoulder up.
He and Lawler had
Gilbert
great
shows
chemistry
signs
together.
of weariness. He's having
Over
trouble
here.
holding Lawler
Over
down.
talking.
Lawler pounded
Great
down
mind
once
for the
again.
business.
Gilbert grabs part of that broken cane. Tommy up on the ring apron, and Gilbert jabs Lawler right in the throat with it. And Eddie stinging Lawler hard. Boy, he really put him down. Woo! Lawler just keeps coming back up after him. Eddie Gilbert stomping Lawler's head. In the air, body slam.
4 minutes, 20 seconds left in this video.
Flies down over Lawler for another. He got a 2 count, and that's all. Pulls the table up, brings Lawler out of the ring, and slams Jerry Wild right into that table. Gilbert's pulled it all out. He grabs a mic stand. They're out here on the floor. Gilbert's tried everything, but he hadn't been able to get a pin on him.
Who's the referee out there? Is that somebody taking pictures?
Jerry
Sort of looks like Don Green from behind.
Under his own power.
The person taking pictures, I think, is Sam Lowe.
Gotcha.
This obviously was a no disqualification match.
Gilbert jumps on top of it. 21 minutes in. Jerry back to his feet. There's that strap of Lawler snapped down, and he really tags Gilbert hard. Jerry, a good running start, nails him again, but stumbles into the ropes. Swings so hard, he loses his own balance. Lawler again puts Gilbert down, staggers around the ring. Lawler going for a pile driver, got low bridged by Eddie Gilbert. Lawler down, Gilbert down. Gilbert's glassy-eyed almost.
Michael, what's the mindset of doing commentary pre-tape at a live venue at a Coliseum compared to doing it in the TV studio?
Well, of course, the crowd reaction, the crowd actually, I mean, you're right there with it, so your timing is better. When you're doing a voiceover in a studio, you normally have natural sound, but it's not like being there. It's not encompassing you, so you're just literally looking at a screen and trying to develop the excitement, the chemistry, the verbiage to do it to sound like you were there live when it was happening. Never had a problem doing the VOs, but I really will try to study the match before I actually start doing the VO, and I know Randy West would allow me to see most of the match, so I would sort of know kind of what was coming, when to peak it to get excited and when to not, oversell it.
Gilbert turning it over. He's on his knee. Goes down. Gilbert falls across him. They count him. Lawler's shoulders are down. 2. He rolls Gilbert up. 2, 3. Got it. Jimmy Hart is gone. .28 minutes and 28 seconds. And one that will not be forgotten. It'll go down in history. Jerry Lawler not only regains the Southern belt, but sends Jimmy Hart packing for 1 year. Stan,
was gone for a lot longer than that before he returned to Memphis. Wow. Thank you, everybody. We had great numbers today. Enjoyed it. Be back. We are back for the first time since our last show for Talking Memphis Wrestling, December the 17th. Missed Christmas Eve. We missed New Year's Eve. We missed you guys. I missed my team. Missed Adam. Missed everybody. So it's so good to be back. Unusual show today. Final thoughts on the mess we had today. Michael St. John, final comments.
heck of a way to kick off 2025, the second quarter of the 21st century, when you think about it. And it's just great being back. I love the opportunity. Again, I'm going to leave here and go get the Code from Melanie on Netflix. I'm not going to watch the show tonight, but I'm going to go back and watch the WWE show from the last night tomorrow night. And Joshua will be with me, so we'll watch it together. But that last match, that was a heck of a way to go out tonight, because that is, I think Lance, he said that match will go down in history, and I think it does. I think it has legs. It still has the excitement. You still get involved emotionally with it that you did back then, and that was a heck of a way to end the program. But I think it's a heck of a way to start the new year. And love the folks. Love seeing the folks and their comments, and it's great stuff. And Bo James, I know you made a couple of great comments as things go on, and you got a big show coming up in East Tennessee that we may want to make mention of in the next week or two. But hopefully we maybe get up in that area sometime this year and get to see one of those great matches that you guys put on.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Next Monday, Power Hour. I'm going to see if I can find that little thing, and so I can tell you about the Power Hour. We in a weird situation. It's show number 150. What happened during the week before was the cat was fired from the WWF. Jerry Lawler quit the WWF. I was told by the WWF that I would lose my developmental deal if I continued to have Lawler on our television. So if it was a choice of Lawler and the WWF developmental talent, I went with Lawler. They pulled the deal, and showing 150, show number 150 of 154, so there's not much left on that. Next week on Talking Memphis Wrestling, we'll have a big show. We have a very unusual show. I don't know if you've ever seen this, because he didn't make a lot of dates in Memphis. The late Bruiser Brody versus Jerry Lawler from May 20th, 1985. Then we will show a loser leave town match, Jerry Lawler against Randy Savage in that year of 85. We have 20 minutes and 39 seconds of classic, The Last of Savage in Memphis before the Macho Man invaded the WWF. Also, among other stuff we have for next week, Tom Renesto, the first heel promoter on-air character in the history of wrestling from September 85. How does that sound for you for a show next week? And do you remember Michael, Brody, and Lawler?
I have seen only that one time, and that was quite an event. But that's a loaded gun for next week. That's a heck of a show lineup. Hopefully, Michael and Chris will be back. I'll just go ahead and tell you the story that as Adam was showing videos, but that's fine too. But Chris, as you know, is a long-time educator and a long-time coach. Back in the day, he was a coach for a state championship basketball team, and we can relate to this sort of thing. One of his star players is 44 years, and he was put in hospice today and not expected to live long. So Chris had to drive from Southside, Arkansas, almost to Texas, and that's the folks. We don't realize how impactful coaches and educators are to us when we're young, because this young man, now in his 40s, in his dying days, asked for Chris to come be with him at his deathside. That's heavy, Michael. Indeed it is, and our prayers go out, and our best wishes go out in safe travels. Can angels surround Chris on his way back as well? But that's a heck of your coaches and team players and coaches are close, and I admire Chris for doing that, and Godspeed.
Absolutely. Didn't mean to bring it down, but I think certainly when it affects our people and especially our panel, I think people's attached to all you guys. Hopefully they're attached to me as well. And when something goes wrong, I think that we need to do that and always ask for prayers. This has been a fun one. Thank you, Michael St. John, and I'm going to let you get us out of here. Thank you, everybody. Michael's going to close us out.
On behalf of Adam Dunn, our producer and executive producer, does a great job. And of course, the legendary Randy Hales, I'm Michael St. John. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year. Yes, college football's playoff semifinals are Thursday night. Texas plays Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. That's the nightcap. The earlier game, Penn State and Notre Dame. And by the way, if you still want to buy tickets, and maybe we'll talk about this somewhere down the line, tickets are still available to both games, believe it or not.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. Yeah, believe it or not. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Love being on the show. Randy, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your life and be a part of this show. Godspeed and prayers to everybody, and we'll see you next Tuesday night talking Memphis wrestling.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.